Today, we are taking this and turning it into this. Let's get started. We finally got a new trailer and a title, and with it, a whole slew of questions. The beginning of the new Tears of the Kingdom trailer shows us more wall carvings. Although these carvings are awesome and full of lore, it's not like getting real true concept art. In order to turn this mysterious carving into concept art, I'll need to make a few assumptions. 1. This is the goddess Hylia. And 2. This is Zelda. Specifically, Zelda from Breath of the Wild in her prayer outfit. So, let's get started by creating the general design. As you can probably tell, this isn't your normal speed painting video. Throughout this, I'll explain the decisions I made and why, based on theories, the multiple Tears of the Kingdom trailers we've gotten so far, and past Zelda games. Starting with the body shape, Hylia seems to have a defined hourglass shape, so we'll be sure to capture that. And we know that the Breath of the Wild team isn't afraid to make their characters a little thick. Next, we'll discuss these two chains. I believe these are necklaces because the Zelda carving has one chain hanging around her neck as well, in a similar location to her in-game model in Breath of the Wild. Looking at Zelda's necklace in-game is noticeably more complex than the simple set of chains. This leads me to believe that the string of chains is representative of a necklace, not a literal depiction. So let's give this character a similar necklace. Now we have this second layer. It's a bit odd to have two sets of necklaces, so I believe it to be a chain between a set of shoulder pad armor. Moving on to the dress shape. I believe this is an A-line, strapless, reverse sweetheart neckline. Looking at Zelda's carving and her outfit in Breath of the Wild, we spot the similarities. One thing that jumps out is the dress's layers. They both appear strapless and have the same general shape. We can also compare the two to see the differences. Hylia's neckline starts a lot lower and isn't flat across. We can see there is an odd triangle piece and an extra layer of fabric and a piece that hangs down the middle. Next, the feet seem fairly similar to Zelda's, but a little bigger. We'll add in Zelda's simple sandals. She could be barefoot, but we'll make the two match for now. Now, the arms are based on a lot of speculation. The theory is that the glowing hand in the first trailer is Hylia. Looking at the wall carving, we can also see a slight robotic look to it, implying the Zonai designs of metal could be there. Especially when we compare it to Zelda's much smoother looking arm carving. Now, onto the face. Zelda is the mortal incarnation of Hylia, so we can assume some facial similarities there. I'll presume these triangles are meant to represent long lashes, as Zelda's carving also has them, but she doesn't have any tattoos or face paint in the games. There seems to be a plate of armor on her forehead, but we'll dive more into that later on. For now, we'll get the general shape. Moving on to the ears. I saw some theories that these could represent the Blue Pea's ears from Breath of the Wild. Although I love this design idea, I think the carving would have more appendages on both sides if this was the case. Instead, I think it's a very large Hylian ear with some chains representing jewelry and some tendrils of hair hanging down. We've also got the hair. This one's simple enough, as it appears very similar to Zelda's carving, but longer and possibly with more wavy layers. Finally, Let's pick our color palette. We can presume that she has light blonde to gold hair like Zelda, fair skin except for those glowing blue spirit arms, and light colored eyes, brown sandals, a white dress, and gold accents. With our design all sketched out, it's time to move on to the illustration. Now, as we get started in this initial sketch, I just want to bring up that I'm making a lot of decisions to make this a pleasing art piece. But outside of that, I'm still trying to mimic as much of the carving from the trailer as possible. Of course, I'll probably be very far off. But hey, it's more fun looking at this interpretation than some cryptic carving for the next few months while we wait. I tried to keep the pose shown in the carving while making it more interesting to look at. We've made it a 3/4 view, but it still has her arms spread out at her sides, reaching out as if in offering or in prayer. One key difference between Zelda's carving and Hylia's is the face shape. Zelda seems to have more of a heart face shape with pointed chin, while the goddess has a square or a round face. I made sure to give Hylia's jaw a slightly more chiseled look than if I was to draw Zelda, and a less poignant chin. Taking a better look at the whole ensemble on her chest, it reminded me of the armor Zelda sports in Twilight Princess. Twilight Princess Zelda also has a chain going across her chest, attaching the two separate plates of shoulder armor. It also has these two tassels on either side of the chain, which very well could be the two details we see hanging from Hylia's carving from the trailer. Adding in that design detail, we can move on to the second chain closer to her neck. This simple set of chains doesn't seem to have any clues as to its shape and design, but we can still reference past Zelda games for this as well. Throughout all of the Zelda series, we've seen two incarnations of Zelda in their goddess or prayer outfit. Assuming these outfits are meant to be styled after Hylia, both designs have a very similar necklace. Although different metals, both have the Loftwing general shape on it. So let's assume this necklace follows the same shape. Both Zelda and Hylia's carvings seem to have these two floating oval shapes near the base of their necks. I believe, based on the location of these and the shape, these are supposed to represent collarbones. This isn't a particularly pivotal detail, but helps us understand the rest of Hylia's proportions and the spacing of her jewelry. I made her collarbones quite pronounced. Since it was important enough to carve, it's important enough to include in our drawing. I believe what we see in the carving of the mysterious deity are these full-armed gauntlets with Zonai designs. This points to it being the blue hand holding Ganon from the first look trailer. Now, this might not be Hylia, it could be another entity entirely. But once again, going off of the carving and what we've seen so far, it is our most logical conclusion as of right now, and the most exciting one, both design and lore-wise. So we're going to continue that theme. The hand might be a separate entity, or only glowing blue when using magic or sealing power. But since this is the only way we've seen this hand with Zonai Gauntlet, this is how we will continue to depict it in our design as well. We will also be including the magic swirls and text from the first look trailer, as if she is currently using her magic or sealing powers. There are a couple reasons I decided to depict her dressed this way. Both Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild Zelda have long white dresses. Nintendo also has a long history of including themes of Christianity in the Zelda series. White was the obvious choice in color. Breath of the Wild Zelda has a pulled layered structure on the skirt. And since Zelda and Hylia's carvings are almost identical in that respect, we've continued this idea. Hylia also has this piece of fabric that flows down the middle. I've represented this piece as its own fabric layer, brought together in the middle with a knot. As there are swirl designs on either side of the strip in the carving, I believe this to be a knot. We also have this triangular piece that sits just below her breasts, which I believe to just be a detail accent of armor. Our head plate resembles two sets of headgear we've seen in the past, the Twilight Princess Fused Shadows and just about any set of Zora armor we've seen. We get the general shape from the Zora armor, from the Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess ones. The sides are rounded out and the middle extends down towards the nose. The pattern on the carving seems to resemble a face, with big eyes close to what we see on the Fused Shadow. We already know the deity has ties to the Zonai, and the Zonai themes and carvings have a lot of similarities with the Twilight Realm. Knowing these connections, I think including them in our design is paramount. At first, I had no idea what these tendrils could be, but seeing them hanging down from her ears reminded me of Midna's human form headdress in Twilight Princess. They are a similar shape, and from the looks of it, length. We don't have too much to go off of, unfortunately, but these tendrils have a slight curl to them, similar to Hylia's long flowing hair in the carving. They also have lines, as if indicating individual strands of hair. The evidence here isn't as strong, but with all the similarities between the Zonai and the Twilight people, we can definitely use this as part of our drawing. As for the background, I am, of course, mimicking the promotional art and the trailers that we've already seen of these floating islands with these super interesting torii-like structures on them. Finishing up, I wanted to quickly include the 7 tiers we see surrounding Hylia in the carving. These might not be stones, but this is how I've chosen to depict them for now. So, what do you guys think? What would you have done differently? Or what are your theories about what she looks like? Let me know in the comments down below. Please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thanks for watching.